Welcome to the show. All things Bulldogs. Here we go, here we go. Yeah. Here we go. Blue and white pride. Bulldogs for life. Dog father here. Gas by my side.
G'day, doggies, fans, all things Bulldogs, and it is a miserable Sunday evening, and I won't be able to sleep until I get on here and have a chat with some good people. Welcome to Gas driving home, wearing his beautiful jacket. Big shout out to you, Gas. Sorry that you had to witness that today at CommBank, my friend.
Yeah. Just one of those things, part of the journey, mate. We're going to take the good with the bad, unfortunately.
That's it.
Would have enjoyed the good a lot longer than just 1 week, but we're going to take the good with the bad.
Yeah, look, a lot of our fans that were carrying on before Penrith last week, obviously back at it again. But look, I can understand their frustration. But this "I told you so" bullshit. Seriously, look, part of the process is making mistakes. Coaches make mistakes. Players make mistakes. And we're going to talk a little bit about just the reality of tonight's game. We obviously want to get on with it and get onto the Broncos game as quickly as possible. And I'm actually really looking forward to that game in 5 days' time. Short turnaround for the boys. They don't have to think about it too much. But I'm going to talk about what I saw from the opening whistle. You know, and I hate to say I told you so. You know, I talked a lot of people into backing the Bulldogs against the Panthers, and I may have talked some of you out of backing the Bulldogs against the Eels because these games never go to script, and it's really disappointing because there's no bigger rivalry game than the Eels. It was a great opportunity to go there in front of their 1986 team, which beat us in a game that will be remembered for, you know, us attacking their line for the last, what seemed like 25 minutes and couldn't score to win a game of rugby league. That went down as the lowest scoring grand final of all time, the last time Parramatta ever won a premiership. And we sat there expecting this to go against the script, expecting the Bulldogs to come up a team that was desperate. whether they were going to come and try and grind against us and work hard, or whether they were going to try and go for anything. And look, at the end of the day, couple of bad moments, as far as execution, and they scored 4 tries from competing for everything, and that's what it come down to. That's the stat that killed us. But I'm going to talk about a lot. There's no polishing the turd. This was a poor performance from the opening whistle. Even when we scored first, I thought our first set in defence was good, and that's probably the highlight. I felt we looked on there, and from that point, I'll explain a lot as I go through. This shouldn't take too long tonight. We'll get through as many chats as we can. People who want to come and attack players, know what the go is there. Please don't do it. Obviously, Curran, and we'll get it out early. There was some errors by Montoya. There's some errors by Curran. There was the coaching decision to put Curran in place of Tuala. Now, I'm just going to set the scene with that straight away. If you trust someone and you trust players in your team over other players, you're going to back those players and you're going to live and die by your decisions, okay? And I'm sure that there'll be a couple of players, whether they're... Look, I don't think Curran is probably on a hide into nothing playing in that position, coming off a 2 or 3 week break from a rib injury. To play 80 minutes on an edge was probably going to be difficult. But they trusted him to go out there and do it. He struggled under fatigue, made more errors. They compounded on themselves. Montoya shows Fox the sideline, and that's what happens when you come up against one of the best wingers of his generation. He's gonna burn you, and that's exactly what happened. The lines, everything looks slow from Parramatta, even at that point. Even that try, someone tried to describe us as being they burnt us down that edge all day. I don't think that happened. I think, I said in the warm-up, like the keys to victory, that Ronald Volkman, and in many discussions I had, that Volkman would run the footy, I expected, because we would be expecting the Fox to get a lot of ball, to get on the outside of Montoya. And I think as an accomplished young half, he used to do very well in the Warriors system. He, he's had some setbacks, but he's a very good little player, and he pulled our pants down. There was Harry. All these players that are there and usually reliable let him go. I think it was 4 forwards standing around that area that he got through. And outside of that, it was the kickoff thing. It was, but look, I'll go through the stats. We win most of the stats at the end of the day as well, which is probably frustrates me. That side shouldn't have beaten us, but we know rugby league. In 2022, we pulled their pants down and embarrassed them. They went and got runner-up in the competition that year. So it's these things happen. If you've been watching NRL every week for years, you would not be surprised by these results. These things happen in these games. What's disappointing, though, is that I think a lot of the guys thought Leo Thompson was going to take them to a new level or something, because I felt that some of our best, most reliable players were down a little bit in their energy, like Harry Hayes. I was really upset that Junior Paulo was able to hit Bailey Hayward one-on-one on 10 or 11 runs. That shouldn't be happening, where your hooker's getting picked out in the line. When that happens to our team in games, we don't win, right? So if Bailey's leading the line speed and he's getting in there first and the other troops are arriving, that's different. But if he's flat foot at the line and getting hit on the advantage line by the front rower, one-on-one, without a dual contact, that means your energy in the middle's down, which is going to put pressure on everything else, right? And that's where the game for me was lost in the first half. I felt we were better at that in the second. But Kickow, for some reason, wasn't running the footy early in the game. No hard runs on the edge. And then you've got we play right a lot in that game. I think they honestly thought they were going to go out there and grind out 80 minutes and trust the blokes that they had to get the job done. But coming up against the Parramatta side with Mitch Moses and those sort of players, and a lot of players with nothing to lose, I felt, they just outcompeted us. Did a lot of, their edge back rowers worked hard, tackled hard, ran straight lines. They got away a few late offloads, and they took every opportunity that come their way, every single one. So, yeah, that's pretty much the tale of the tape. Before I look at some lives, what's your thoughts, Gas?
Look, mate, you've covered quite a bit there. You've covered quite a bit there. And look, and to be honest with you, I did. It was very glaring what you spoke about with Paulo running at Hayward, because where we were sitting was basically behind the posts, and you could see him come at him every time. Now, I've got to say, Hayward did a fantastic job defending him, because each time he put him on his ass. But it's like you said, he shouldn't have to be doing that. He needed support there. The way that the game was from the start, like I said, Montoya, for me, that early knock on coming off after that try was a big turning point that just killed that momentum early on, and we couldn't defend that set. He then, like you said, he showed the sideline on the last tackle of all things, and allowed Fox to get around him. Salmon came over and sort of gave him a quick word, and then gave him a pat on the back and just walked away and just told him what he had to do better, and then just pumped him up again and, in a positive way, and then moved on. But look, I just feel like some of our players at the moment, they're out of form. They're just not executing how they want to be. We're very limited in the options that we've got in replacing some of these players. Unless you go for a raw rookie outside of that. When I say raw rookie, unless you do the Sewers and you do the Jethros, I feel like, we're going to have to make some tough decisions in the near future, just like the coach had to do with Cherry to bring in an in-form Tawala, which when you look at Tawala's play up until today when he was injured, he's been one of our most consistent players. So that was the right call by the coach. He needs to back himself a bit more and make some more decisions like that for players he feels like need a refresh or need something. At the moment, we're still carrying too many players that have got more niggles than they should have, and we need to bring people in that are not. Carras could have gone off a lot earlier today. He was just a passenger out there in that first half. You gave him every chance, but we had the back sitting there. We had to bring that on earlier. I think sometimes what's happening at the moment is we're completely overthinking and overanalyzing to the point where there's so many varying options. It's just overwhelming for the coach to make the right decision. I just feel like it, especially, what happened a couple of weeks ago by not bringing Cherry on, by using the sort of decision of Critter getting needled and all that, just things like that. There's too many options available to them. They've prepared so much for all these contingencies. I feel like sometimes we're over-analysing instead of just trusting your gut and just go with it. Just go with it. Curran starting today for me was always going to be a challenge. When I heard that before the game, my heart sank. I knew that with Tawala out and Curran coming in, I didn't have the vibes that I had last week going into Penrith thinking, we're going to win this game. There's a good feeling. Today, that was shot before the game, and then they played that way, unfortunately. So there needs to be some tough decisions made. There has to be, you can't be saying that, Sewer hasn't played since 2024 when, you're the one picking the team and not allowing him to have that option of playing since 2024. So all these decisions, today would have been the perfect option against a weakened Parramatta to say, hey, Sewer, off you go, mate. In you go. You know what I mean? Let's go. And not make these big changes, etc., and so be it. But like you said, it's a process. The coach is going to make right calls. He's going to make some calls where he might reflect on them later and think he could have done better. And I feel like in this instance, his decision was based on what he hoped the players would deliver, and I feel like the players didn't back up his decision. And it's not just his decision, but I think the players didn't back up his decision. So it's a two-way street. So, like you said, 5-day turnaround. Bring on Brisbane. It can't come soon enough. You know, we're going to have limited expectations heading into that game, but I think that's going to be for the better. We're all looking forward to that.
All right. Look, as I said, it comes down to trust. If you trust the players in your squad to deliver and they don't deliver, well, then some of those players will be on thin ice. But on the other hand, Curran was set a task. So, and Mike, I'm not saying you're attacking players by pointing out that you believe Curran was in the wrong spot and was set a task. It's more a case that people are saying that Curran cost us the game, that Montoya cost us the game. Yeah, they had some moments where their errors were punished. I think there's talk about that Montoya has struggled to stick with the pace of the game at times with the workload that he has. We sort of talked a little bit about that last week as well as to why he's in the team. I felt Jonathan Sewer showed enough today that what he brings in the collision. And another thing people don't understand, Pete Noonan I was talking to the other day because I was saying that Sewer would be next man up on the bench a couple of weeks ago, and he goes, well, the way he was hobbling around after New South Wales Cup, I don't see how he could walk. And he is heavily bandaged as well. So obviously they are carrying some injuries, and it comes down to trust. Now, if you trust someone to do a job, you're going to back that person to do the job. So I'm not going to blame the coach for trusting Curran in that role. He's trusted plenty of players in roles, and it's paid off plenty of times. This is what I mean. When Curran's been instrumental to matches that we've won, to sit there and say he's a front rower, he's never been a front rower. He's been an 80-minute player who's come off the bench in the middle to help us. And you can see if he's had to start in the front row, he lasts about 3 games before he's broken. And that's the same. That'll happen to Sitili Tupanua if he starts every week. That will in the middle. Comment was made here that by Scott Wilkinson, Tupanua could have been a good centre option. I 100% agree, but I think Tup's his season to deliver what he's delivering off the bench for us, and he's doing it for 40 minutes, where maybe they thought Curran makes a few less tackles out there. All he's got to do is come in and help us out of yardage. I think the mindset behind what they did was probably pretty simple. But as it turns out, when you're competing for kicks, and we've seen Curran score quite a few tries off kicks as well. You know what I mean? Like whether chasing through or competing up for high and competing for scraps. Like he's usually a player who's on the ball. He's an effort player. But again, I think Mike was right with the point that a player that's been out for 2 weeks that gets thrown in to that position, it's fair for people to be frustrated with it. I know when I heard the news around lunchtime today, I was like, that doesn't give me confidence at all. But I still was going to back them to believe that they could do the job. I knew it was going to be a tough game. But as I said, for me, the disappointing thing is Bailey Hayward's getting picked out in the middle. And for people to blame that hooker, I don't care whether they've supported me or not. If you think Bailey Hayward deserves to be massively criticised on what he's doing out there, like that's fine if you can think that, but don't come here and say shit and put shit on him because you'll be in time out. Or you can go to some other shit cast and watch them be bipolar with results every week. So, overreact when we win, dissing the opposition like we're going to flog them by 50 because they got flogged by 50. Did they not see? This is what I don't understand, right? If you're sitting there doing social media, right, and you're sitting there after the Souths game, which I felt was great for a lot of it, until we lost our captain and then made a shitload of mistakes. A lot of those people said we're going to be, absolutely destroyed by the Panthers by 50, right? They come out and said that. And then we beat Penrith. And then they come out and say, Penrith had put 50 on Melbourne and we lost to South. So we were supposed to lose by 50 to Penrith, but we beat Penrith by 16. And then, Parramatta loses to the Titans by 50. Apparently we're supposed to beat them by 50. Well, that was never going to happen. So if your reactions are about results each week and you just think it's about the result, you're going to be looking like a fool more often than not. I've said it, even when before beating Penrith, I was like, well, we can definitely win. It's going to be hard. But I've never once felt we were a top 4 side this year. Yet. I think we're building. I've said it from day one. The energy's not there, and they proved that today. They didn't have the energy to back up what they did the other day. They could have had a 12-day turnaround. I still don't think they would have been ready. They just, there was just little things that I saw as well, and I just was like, I think they were confident. They were confident they were going to do well. They expected a simple game plan was going to work. And they didn't deliver. They didn't help Curran deliver. A lot of predetermination. I've talked about that as one of our flaws. So I talk about our flaws as a team, right? A lot of, Montoya, when he tackled Fox without the ball, he decided, this is what I got to do. I got to do it. And he didn't actually look and react to what the situation was. He just went through with it. There was some passes which went. I saw Galvin trying to react, even when he threw that long cutout pass and it didn't sort of hit the mark. He was actually looking at the people around and he actually took it on. Like, it was probably the right play. It just didn't work out a couple of times. And then there was some plays where it just wasn't on. And we went there anyway. But yeah, we're a lot better side when our edges are getting early ball. But I just felt we were trying to manufacture something. It almost looked like in the first half it was a training run for next week. That's how I felt, Gas, looking at it from the TV. It was like, well, we're trying to get to this position on the field. And, it was like watching us in the bad days off the set restart, when we got the one penalty. We were down 6-1 in the penalties, where we put it through the hands and everyone, and the person with the ball's like not looking to say, am I getting it to someone in a better position than me? No, I need to pass it to him, and he needs to pass it to him, and he needs to pass it to him, and then Thompson's going to get the ball off the 5th pass, and he's going to get the hit up. And it was like they knew where we were going to throw it and where it ended up. That used to happen with every time we get a penalty. We'd throw it 2 or 3 passes into Tolman and he gets smashed as he was getting the ball, and we'd lose ground off the play. Happened today off the penalty. I just felt like Hayward looked right a lot of times, and it was like, fuck that, I'm going left. We probably didn't go left enough. But I can see the strategy around that. You want to save those players on the left for the big moments. And they nailed 4 of them, guys. Like, they got 5 line breaks down the left side of the field. So we made no line breaks on Preston's side, Curran's side, and Montoya's side. They swapped Montoya to the left. Sorry, back to the right edge. No, he stayed there. Sorry, I got that mixed up. I thought they did a swap in the game at some point, but they didn't. They actually didn't. He was on there the whole game. I just got confused. Sorry, I just had a moment. Don't worry about it. I was like, because I had it in my mind. I've still got this thing where Carraz is on the right sometimes, and Suarez come in. I'm like, oh, he's gone to the right edge, but no, he didn't. He went on the left edge where he's been playing in New South Wales Cup, and I thought he did a good job. I know he dropped.
You know what
that
didn't
ball.
help us?
Huh?
It didn't help us with the ease at which we scored that first try. I think it lulled them into a false sense of security as well. Sometimes when we score the first try and it's easy like that, because we were under the pump and we defended a few sets. We got our sort of first proper opportunity. Then we scored that try in the corner. Sometimes they just feel like, oh, okay, all we need to do is go down there, spread the ball, go through our plays, and we'll score a try. And then that didn't work against them. But there's one other thing that I've been sort of watching each time I've been going to the games, and I know it's hard to say when you win a game, but I've seen it so many times now. I feel like our warm up before the game is longer, and we're going right up until literally 7 minutes, 8 minutes before we even start the game. And it's pretty warm at times down there. And they're doing a lot of stuff. They're going from play to play, motion to motion. I feel like sometimes you're overdoing that warm up. I understand, you need to be ready, but I feel like they're overdoing that warm up. That it's working sometimes against us. I've seen it quite a few times now where we've looked a bit flat after a while. And I know they're a fit team, but I feel like some of that energy could be saved for the match as well. Warm yourself up, but I know there's a lot of science behind it. I could be proven wrong, but I just feel like we've been going longer and later, and it feels like it's sort of crossing over into the game, and I feel like we're not as fresh as we need to be during the game. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Mike.
All right. Oh no, yeah. Sorry, I switched off a bit, mate, because I was reading comments. My apologies, mate.
No, I was just saying, mate. I feel like our warm ups have been going. I feel like our warm ups have been going too long and too late, right before we start the game. Literally within 7-8 minutes of kickoff, before we stop our warm ups before the game. I feel like it's taking a bit of energy out of our guys. I know there's a lot of science behind it, but I feel like it's just got longer and later into the start of time. I understand you need to warm up, but I feel like we've gone too far.
Look, Gas, I'm definitely not going to comment on that. That's your opinion. There's no way I'm going to make a comment on that. That's way beyond. I talk a lot about energy, and that could definitely be a reason for it. And I trust your knowledge in that area, but I actually trust that the fact that there's a whole bunch of people involved in those decisions, and collectively they're going to do what they think's right for the team and beforehand. So, look, that's just one of those things. Look, Ark and Ark says Curran's been instrumental when. See, that's what I mean. Like, that's these people. Welcome to our show, Ark and Arks. Nice name. If you talk about our players like that, just dismiss them as, when's he been instrumental? It means you don't understand footy. You've never watched a game properly. You watch line breaks, you watch big hits, you watch missed tackles, you watch tries, but you don't understand footy. You don't understand energy when it comes to footy, an elite fucking team sport. Because if you did, you'd know that guy. Yeah, people are saying, because they see a photo of him on the presentation looking around that he's switched off, or because, he dropped a few balls last year. He had a couple of bad games. End of his season was quite good. So, yeah, feel free to say what you got to say, but look, try and understand that these players get picked for a reason. Going back to James, and Arkin goes, Montoya and Curran was shit. Well, Montoya was all right last week. I know he made a couple of errors last week as well. He sure did, but we beat the Panthers. And it wasn't in spite of him. He contributed to that win. He's contributed to a lot of good stuff. But does that mean, do I think he played well today? No, he didn't play well. And in fact, he would be one that the coach should be saying, you're on a few, I don't know how many chances he's got left after playing a few bad games. But Montoya bleeds blue and white. He loves the club and he deserves respect, whether he fucks it up or not. You know, I wasn't happy when he showed the Fox the sideline. Won't be the first that gets his pants pulled down by the Fox. And he won't be the last. James, so the tinkering at the Dogs has gone too far then. No, what tinkering? A player got injured in captain's run. He trusted an edge back rower who's played centre. He's got Preston, who used to be a centre. He's got Tupanua, who used to be a centre. He's got Harry Hayes, who used to be a centre. He trusted Curran with the job. The job, they failed. They didn't achieve the requirements of the role today. Simple as that. But there were a bunch of other players, and I'll name them, that also didn't achieve the requirements of the role. And they're in the middle. Leo Thompson. People said Leo Thompson had a good game. No, he didn't. It was his first game in Dogs colours. He did the best he could. I think he gave some of the players a bit of a false sense of security. That's just my opinion. I don't know. That's just my perception. Right? I could be wrong. I felt he did his role. I felt Sam Hughes tried his best early as well. They took energy out of the opposition, but not enough energy out of them. And I just think that we had no penetration. Our halves didn't play that well off the back of it either, I don't believe. They both tried. They just weren't as effective as they could have been because the platform wasn't as good. I told everyone, Max King is an elite prop. And he didn't play. If he doesn't come back on against Penrith, I don't think we win for that 24 minutes with a broken jaw. I think they get away with it. You're cutting in and out a bit, Gas, so when you get back, let us know.
We're missing our two starting centres.
Missing our two starting centres. This is what's going to happen. You're going to lose. It's going to be tougher. Now, we're not even talking about what Parra was missing. They're missing a halfback, but Volkman's a very, Volkman's been around for quite a few years. He's a talented kid, right? He's not shit. They got Mitchell Moses, second best halfback in the comp, they reckon. Right. He's still out there. They got They've got some good players. They got the Fox. But we should have beaten them today, and we didn't. We left Carraz on for too long. Yeah, maybe. It's called trust, guys. If the winger sits there and says, I'm all right, I can get through this, just like they left Payne Huss on for 5 or 10 minutes yesterday. After he got injured, he's going to be out for 6 weeks. Right? You trust your players they sit there and say, I'll be right, I can get through it. It's just a niggle. It's just a bruise. We had Jonathan Sewer there as backup. That's what happens, guys. So we could sit there and go in hindsight, he should have taken Crows off straight away. Well, maybe it could have just been a cork for all we fucking knew. And when Sewer come on, I think he did a really good job. And hopefully Sewer's given the coach the belief and faith that he can come in and do a job for us. You're back now, Gas. That's good.
Yep, 2 minutes and I'll be perfectly back.
G'day, Abraham.
One thing that we need to. No one's discussed yet, but if you look at the injury that Curran sustained a few weeks ago, when you're jumping up and you're putting your arms up above your head to catch a ball, that's your most vulnerable position for a rib injury. So it's not his fault. If he's ready to play, he's ready to play. But that wouldn't have been easy for him to be doing today, jumping up with his arms above his head.
Yeah, but it's the same. If he's running through the middle and they normally go a double hit, but if a lot of these guys hang off the side, like Kurt Mann doesn't, he holds off for the first contact and then he literally tries to break people's ribs every time he tackles them, right? He hits them as a 1-2 rather than a double block. Your ribs are getting exposed no matter what you're fucking doing. But I get it.
No, but I mean catching the ball. No, when he's jumping up in the air to catch a ball, that's not an ideal position for him in the injury that he sustained. So
probably not. No.
As a centre is what I'm saying. That wouldn't have been something that he would have been planning on when he made his comeback. That's what I'm saying. So, probably but I still feel the one where he jumped up on the try line. If you watch it closely, and I don't know what his feet were taken out. His feet were taken out. I don't know why that's not a penalty.
By someone not contesting the ball.
Exactly.
Like, that's why they brought in that rule.
So that would have been I don't know why that was not recalled for a penalty. It was every day of the week you look at it. It was definitely something that should have been looked at.
But that's one of those things. But that's one of those things when they're not looking at them calls, and it was Parramatta's day today. We've had days where we get those things go our way too. Like we couldn't stop the tide, and look, guys, I keep saying it. A lot of these players in our side are warming the seats for others. That they're going to be broken and going to another place at some point. I think the toughest thing, and this is just my opinion, I think the coach or the coaching staff need to put some trust in some of these younger kids.
Yes.
And we can't say they haven't. Like, no one knew Bailey Hayward was ever going to get called up. No one predicted it. It just happened. No one predicted Harry Hayes. Like, we thought maybe in a few years he's one of the kids we're definitely going to see come through. But, he's doing a train and trial. Next minute he's straight in the side, and contributing. He wasn't at his best today. You got to be prepared to say a lot of our good players that contributed last week were just down that fraction today in the areas that we needed them to be really good. So, are you home, buddy?
Yeah, mate, you're right. Keep going, mate. I can hear you.
You can actually go out and come back in on your thingo if you want.
Yeah, mate, I'll do that shortly. I'll just offload. Yep.
But Abraham said, why is everyone surprised? I'm expecting the Eels to win. Well, the Eels haven't lost after conceding 50 in the last few times they've played. I think only the Roosters have beaten a side after playing the Panthers. And look, not many sides win after playing us. Like, that's just a fact.
Well, Newcastle was the only one up until Penrith scraping in the other day. Otherwise, it would have only been Newcastle to win after playing us.
Yep.
Penrith only just scraped in by 1 point.
Look, I think it sets us up to put in a good performance against the Broncos, but that also should tell you these narratives in rugby league that Madge isn't lost the dressing room and he's too hard on his players. West Tigers nearly played the perfect type of game against a depleted Broncos side, and they lost. So if people think that Broncos side don't have a lot of good young talent that's come through having being the biggest club in the competition, having the biggest access to the junior pool of any other side, if you think that their juniors haven't gone through a lot to get a go, Like Dean Mariner was in that system for years before getting a go, and he's a very good player. There's a lot of good players in that system that are just ripping and tearing at the bit to get a crank. And Xavier Willison is an absolute beast. Now, I'm not just talking them up because we're playing them. We've got to go there in 5 days. We're playing at Suncorp. They won't have Carrigan. They won't have Payne Huss. They shouldn't have Reece Walsh. They may not even have, like Jordan Ricky's playing on one foot.
Jesse Alford as well.
Jesse Arthur's probably not going to be there. And Katoni Staggs has strained a ligament in his foot as well. Might be able to play under Needling. So they don't have Ben Hunt. So their backs are against the wall. But you can see how they can pull it out of the fire because they believe in their system and coach. Now, we need to see a bounce back from the Bulldogs, no doubt. And when we do the podcast on Tuesday or Wednesday, we're not sure yet. Just got to check out a few things. What we'll be trying to do is to show you how the Bulldogs can win that match. But as far as this review goes, we'll have a look at the stats in a moment, and just to give you a clear picture of that, I'm also going to talk a bit about New South Wales Cup. We had a new winger come to the club. Now, all I could see is that he was playing in Mal Meninga Cup, which is like the Jersey Flegg of the Queensland competition. And in 2024, he was playing for the East Tigers. I haven't really seen too much of him in the Bulldogs juniors or anything. He's just all of a sudden, Cooper Toy wasn't there today. And we've got a young fella called Sue. And it's not the guy from the Dragons, okay? But he's got a little rat's tail and stuff, and he scored 2 tries, 2 nice tries. Alex Conti was absolutely dynamic today. Go and watch the highlights. I'll get them up there later for everyone. Yeah, and some good efforts by Tay Cochrane. It's always a handful. I think we ended up winning 42-24. AJ Jones played all right. Zion Mayu, they all had a crack. The Eels tried hard. They led 10-0. It looked like we were going to get our pants pulled down. But sometimes a poor performance in NRL can actually lift the New South Wales Cup guys because they might see a pathway appear again. Just like the pathway that closed last week when we beat Penrith. I just say this as a human, speaking about, some of the things I've heard and seen. Doesn't mean it's always like that for every player. Obviously not. Yeah, guys, it's not something to dwell on. It's sad that we couldn't lift our energy for this Parramatta game today. That was sad. That's disappointing. But to pin it all on the coach and all on the fucking 1 or 2 players, just, you need to actually understand that there was a bunch of players that weren't at their best. Leo Thompson's going to be better for the run. Harry Hayes will be better for the run for next week. So Tilly Tupanua and Kurt Mann, I thought they tried hard in difficult circumstances. They didn't let anyone down. I thought Jamin Salmon was some of his passing was good, and he was working hard in defence, but didn't have that same energy and zip. He wasn't poor though. I wouldn't say he was poor, but yet again we lose, and he's the first person that's called out with the other 2. I thought our halves weren't as good. I thought the left edge did all right with the ball, in spite of the fact that Kikau, we needed that go forward from him, and we didn't get it. I think Gas will be back on in a second. But let's go through some chats. Good to learn these mistakes now at the start, not later in the season. So Jags, St George supporter, welcome to you, mate. No, Kurt Mann hasn't played in the centres for a long time. And he's got his role off the bench. We need him for what he does. But look, I could see where you're coming from that, because he's had experience playing in the back line. But so is Curran. Curran's obviously a bigger boy. Yeah, we had plenty of errors. Hines, he didn't like Curran to centre. But that's what I mean. We can't just find one decision by a coach and say that cost us the game. It's never that. At half time, my comments were this: we got what we effing deserved. We got what we deserved. And when the coach repeated those in the press conference, he's right. And someone tried to make fun of what you said, Gas, that the players didn't sort of stand up for the coach or didn't back the coach with his decision because the way they played. It's quite self-explanatory. You know, the coaches put faith in them and they didn't repay that faith. Simple as that. Whether we believe they were on a hiding to nothing or not. Chris Bangor says, how can you beat Penrith with the same team and then with the same team lose the Eels? Well, it wasn't the same team. We were missing an Ari Tuala. Jacob Crow's got injured. Max King was injured. So it wasn't the same team. It was a team with a player returning from a long-term injury and obviously another player, Curran, that we've talked about, and just a bridge too far for some of the others to carry the weight of it, including Montoya. I'm going to back him to bounce back. I reckon he'll be picked next week. Montoya, I'm not sure where Curran will be. I'm pretty sure it'll be in the forwards on the bench. And I'd expect to see that Critter will be on the left, maybe the right edge. Cherry might stay on the left, but I'm not sure. You know, if he picks Cherry at right centre and Critter at left and we lose, they're going to cop a lot of criticism. But the coach has got to do what the coach trusts is the best thing for the team. And win or lose, that's what happens. This is what I say to people who think they know more than coach. If you go and apply for the job and the Dogs give you that job, I will support you as the coach. I don't really care who the coach is. I also don't really care who the players are. I support them to do the job. I trust the professionals to do their job. And we just talk about how we're a great club. It's a privilege to be a part of this club. And sometimes these players don't achieve our expectations on the day. And that's because they're human. But these are the days that hurt the most because these are the days we want them to stand up. Outside of grand finals and semi-finals, we every year we mark these games on our calendar. Parramatta, wherever we play them, you know, St. George, wherever we play them, Penrith, wherever we play them now, I think's a pretty big deal. And the Roosters probably. Is there another game that I'm missing? South Sydney, of course. So they're the 5 teams that wherever we play them, they're the big rivalry. And then there's everybody else. It's like every game's a rivalry now, but Parramatta is at the top of the tree, guys. Like just historically, it's so important to win that game, and we lost it. And I know it hurts, but we're the guys who, you know, we're not going to talk the club and the team down. In my opinion, if Jonathan Sewer starts today, I think it sends just sends a message of hope to some of those other youngsters that might be seeing that pathway is a tough thing to overcome and hard to overcome the trust of the coach and the other players. But I think that's a good thing as well, right? It's a double-edged sword because for too long, this club allowed people into first grade and they sort of had no other option that weren't up to it or weren't ready. And it cost some of them their careers, to be honest. Some of those young guys that come into our team, if they got to fight a bit harder or wait a bit longer or come into a more confident team or club at a different time, they might have actually gone on to have really good careers. Like that's how cutthroat it is. But But all I can say is there's not too many going to other clubs that are absolutely thriving. Although there was a stat this week and it actually increased. So 6 former Dogs players out of the last 5 matches of this weekend scored tries. And 2 of them were today. So Joash and the Fox.
Josh.
I think we had Damien Cook.
Curtis Moran.
Brandon Wakeham got a try. He got handed a try, basically. And good on him. Well done to Brandon Wakeham. Well done to him. Good on him. You got some stuff to add, Gas, while I get the stats up?
No, mate, just look, it's the same thing we had, guys, when we had the Newcastle loss, when we had the Rabbitohs loss. We had a positive week after the Penrith game. And look, it's early in the season. We're still sitting pretty, around the middle of the table. It's a learning curve. We're going to have ups and downs. But just need to trust the overall process, where they're going. I'd rather they make the mistakes now, if they are mistakes, early in the season as they learn, and hoping that, when we get it right, we get, like Michael said, we've all been saying it. We need to trust some of these younger guys to step up and make it into the team. I think that's going to be the evolution for us this year, getting these young guys in, building that trust around them. They build the trust themselves into the team, and we keep going onwards and upwards, leading into the business end of the season. So, we're still sitting in the first third, guys, and it's a long road ahead. But you know what? It's the beautiful thing about sport and football and everything else. There's always next week, especially when it's not the grand final. There's always next week. So we back up again on Friday. It's going to be a slightly longer drive. It's going to take probably about 12, 13 hours to get there, but it's all going to be worth it, guys. I'll get to meet Michael for the first time when I do get there. So that'll be one of the disappointments of the week. I'm kidding. It'll be all right. So, yeah, and then we'll go from there. So for all those other guys turning up to catch up as well, Sage and all the other boys, and girls, whoever's going to be there, come and say hello. But, yeah, guys, it starts again. When we beat the Broncos next week, and you'll come back and say, you guys said that. Well, we said that, and we won, and we beat the Broncos, and we're back on, good terms again, and we can talk positive for that week and go again. So, that's the way it is with sport, guys. There's too many ups and downs. If you keep riding everything on it, then, you'll put yourself down as well. It's good to be upset and good to be fired up. I mean, we sat there today. I saw a lot of people leave way before the match was over, to the point where the Parramatta people stood up, had their phones going, and were waving goodbye to them. Come on, guys. Anyway, it's all good. I'm sure we do the same thing to the opposition when they leave early as well. But, yeah, we can be better than that, guys. Support your team and stay to the end.
I'll go through some chats quickly, mate.
Go for it, mate.
So I just want to say thanks to everyone who said hello today. And look, you've been pretty good, to be honest. We've got a great community here. And I'm going live to Facebook and stuff like that. So we get people who've never been on before, or they might have been. They just only say something when they lose. Ibrahim Buzzy, after today's loss, let's stick with the team. Let's get train hard every day. We'll let the result up the dog go up the doggies. Yeah. Brian said, if anything, we have more to worry about with the games we definitely should win rather than the ones we shouldn't win. It's like we think it'll happen rather than making it. Yeah, and I think that's what I thought. Like, it was just a bit like we're just going through a training run today in the first half. And
we did that well last year. We did that well last year. We won, except for the Tigers. I think we won all the games that we were, supposed to win.
Supposed to win. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And you're just not going to get that all the time. That's the thing. When you're at where you are at the club, you become the hunted, which we talked a lot about in the preseason. And these teams, there's no motivation to get up for this game, and that's what's disappointing for us today as Bulldogs fans. And look, I think it's a fair question to ask. Why isn't Jonathan Sewell going to go today? I think it is a fair question to ask.
Yes.
But from the outside, that is a fair question to ask. But what I will say to you is there is a genuine reason as to why he didn't. And it's just comes down to the perception that matters, and the perception that counts is the coaches and the coaching team. And that's all that matters and counts. We can say what we want. But if you want to go and listen to the Touchline podcast and have these pretentious little fucking maggots, right, who want to sit there every single week with a vendetta against Cameron Serrato and say, I told you so after every fucking loss, if you want to associate with those people, they're going to make you unhappy humans more often than not. If you want to stick there and support the club that produced Mortimer and Lamb and folks and the greats, come say hello to us anytime. Because always think about that. Always remember that. Right? These guys, whether they played well or not today, and they didn't have the energy they needed, and they were outcompeted, they still tried, and they still tried to win. But for me, there was a lot. I think the commentators are right today. There was a little bit too late with some of it. But we see how this goes. If you're not playing well and you start throwing the ball around, and you don't really, I don't think they trusted that left edge enough. And when they started to, it was like, we're actually getting through pretty easy here. Like the try that Cherry scored at the end, the try Galvin scored, which I think Galvin's run probably showed Cherry, this is what you fucking do, mate.
Yep.
You agree with that?
100%.
I think you said that as well, Gas. I might have stolen off you. Credit where credit's due, brother. But I agree 100%. And then Cherry does at the end. It's like, guys, we've got to penetrate. And I love that word.
Latrell showed it last night. Latrell showed it last night as well. You got to have that mongrel. You got to have that will to, no matter how many players were hanging off him. And I know he's a far superior player, an elitist, but especially running the ball. But when you've got that will and that motivation and that drive and that you want to get that ball, they were doing that today, Galvin and Cherry, knowing that they had to score that try to keep the game going. Rather than just take the tackle, they were going, I'm getting this ball over the line whether you like it or not, and they did. But that needs to be from the start of the game, like we did last week against Penrith, where we had that whole go. So for whatever reason, it wasn't there from the start today. That's all.
Can I add to that? The superstars of our game, you go and watch the moments. Latrell Mitchell, if he's not at the Roosters when they go back to back, they don't go back to back.
Yes.
He scored so many tries like that. Stephen Crichton in the 23 grand final, plus plenty of other times.
Yeah.
Raiders game last year. 2 Raiders games, actually, where he just produced numerous games last year, just produces moments of scoring points where other players don't do it. I'm talking about Reece Walsh, that try under the posts where he just beat everyone and decided he was going to do it. James Tedesco, there's more of those moments than you can fucking poke a stick at. It's just these great players where they never fucking give up. And that's the difference. The Dylan Edwardses, the Benny Barbers and that. They never give up the play. Like someone's trying to stop them. And when I look at our club and some of the young talent that they've produced, they're the ones that they're going for. The reason they got Raymond Peru and David Brighton, and Brighton's left the club and that now, I know, but the reason they got these types of players, Carlo Lawapu, if you watch them in their young grades, they just do not stop trying to compete at scoring points when they got the footy, and they always demand the football. So it's something that our club's trying to bring into our system. We've got players that we're producing with that heart and determination as well. But for them to go to that level, they have to compete with these other kids coming in. And that's the hard thing. Galvin's another one. He has a determination to fucking win. And he burns on every loss. And he got the roll on started today when he took matters into his own hands down the left edge. Now, I can't wait for him to decipher that moment. And I was almost heard the commentators try and start to do it. Oh, it was interesting. Galvin was on the left-hand side of Burton. So they'll be like, oh, Galvin's got to play left and play 5'8" now. That's how they'll see it. I can see him concocting it straight away. Maybe that is the future at one point. Who knows? But great players have this determination, and they're the one things. Chris Bangos 9049, very passionate, I can tell, my friend. Fans pay big money to watch them. I don't give a fuck what fans pay. I go and pay money. We all pay money. No matter which fucking team you go watch and support, everyone's paying money for it, whether you come first or last. I think what they try and do is criminal. Apparently, I heard this today, but apparently, the all access for disabled seats were loaded by $100 today because it was Parramatta Bulldogs. So it cost $140 against the Warriors next week. They're only going to be $40 for the same seats at the same stadium. What a fucking joke that is. Combank trying to take advantage of Bulldog supporters.
Even the seats, even the tickets for the Tigers Bulldogs game, considerably less than what they were tonight for us.
Oh.
Like some of them even half, like considerably less for the Bulldogs and Tigers game. So those have been released, guys. Jump on and grab them before the Tigers get them too.
Look, as I said, Paulie, welcome to you. Bailey Hayward wasn't bad today. He made 53 tackles. He attempted many more, and he was singled out in defence numerous times. Right? That, to me, is a middle problem, a team problem. And I felt his passing was okay. And I thought he brought some players onto the ball. And he would have had things in his mind that he might not have trusted going out a certain way, the same way, as often as we were. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was 3 or 4 tries. Para scored were directly from our errors off kicks, off drop balls. Yeah, it was just a shitty day. When Preston missed that tackle on Volk, you just know they were not on. Preston never misses tackles like that.
Yeah, him and Hayes were there. Yeah.
G'day, Matty.
Going crazy with himself after he missed it.
Oh, look, they wanted to execute and wanted to do everything. They just weren't able to do it today. And that comes, as I said, I said they will start to hit their mark around the back end of the 10-week start. This is what Gus said. And hopefully we can get some luck with injuries, navigate Origin if we're doing all right, because we'll have some players in contention, and then finish harder and finish with momentum towards the end of the season, which is, I think you'll see the likes of the Leo Thompsons and the Kings. When King and Thompson are out there, they're just going to be a new level for us. Not a massive new level. It's not going to be massive, but it's just going to make us more competitive in that middle part of the field, take a little bit more energy and sting out of the opposition defense, and make us more effective with everything we do after that. I 100% believe that. And if we can get those players rolling onto the footy, get that penetration. I didn't see that support from the forwards tucked in around the playmakers today the same way. Yet I did see Para rushing up on our edges. So it's like we were looking to work on something else today. It looked a little bit different. And that's why I got that feeling. It's like, this feels like they're training for next week. The mentality was just a little bit down with some players. And no matter how hard they tried to resurrect it, as you're saying, Harry looked beside himself. Yeah, I think Montoya is a bit struggling. Thanks for your contributions, Paulie. I'm just getting through as many. Jazz didn't expect that. Yeah, the game was lost in the middle, 100%. The pack needs to fire the fuck up, and the game is won and lost there. That's right. They tried so hard to win against the Eels, even if they didn't play their best. They had a good team. Maybe we'll just beat them in June. I love Jesus. Beautiful.
Make a good return match. King's birthday.
Yeah. If we can't get up for that, Max King's birthday, I don't know.
That's it.
The King. Yeah, look, so we'll look to next week. But for me, I think Jonathan Sewer's earned himself a start. I really do. I hope that's the case. If he's not picked, he's not picked. I was watching before the game. I was sort of feeling that. I was feeling that energy. I was watching him look. He looked a little bit like it should be me there out there today. But that's just my perception. I can't read his mind or his body language. Yeah, Dylan Walker did his role, mate.
Their backline played very well as well.
Hmm.
They were carrying us and making meters. Post contact was crazy. Like
Will Penastini was a man of the match for me.
Yeah, they were just even when we hit them hard, they just kept moving.
That's what I said, Abraha. 2022 Eels got smashed by bottom four dogs and they made the grand final 100%. We pulled their pants down. God, that was a great day. Then we went and I think we beat the Titans. No, West a week later. We beat West a week later, then had a couple of losses. Then we won another couple. I think we beat Titans and Newcastle or something. Josh Curran needs to go. He just has butterfingers. Penrith do have the best juniors, Jag. But if you think the Queensland juniors aren't good, that's probably because you don't follow what happens up here. That whole Broncos team of players that you're looking at, pretty much as many juniors in their top 30 as there is Panthers juniors in the Panthers top 30. So Jethro Rennikama is ready. The try he got today off a standing start, 5-6 meters out, pushes past three people to score. That was pretty mental. Yeah, tough day today, brother. We get Critter back next week. Yeah, and credit does go out to Parramatta. They did, and well done to Josh Papali scoring his second career try off like a ridiculous play, you know. Like Brian Kelly gets that little grubber away.
And Birdo hit him hard too.
We were desperate.
Birdo hit him hard, nearly pushed him out, and he still managed to stay in and kick that ball around.
Wasn't like we didn't try, I guess. Wasn't like they didn't try and stop it.
I don't think they had. They didn't even have They didn't miss any of the opportunities they got. They capitalized on every chance
Every
they got.
single one. Everyone.
Every one of them. How often do you go through games and do that? Not very often, guys. Everything just worked for them today. Take away 2 or 3 of those tries, and the game's back in the balance almost.
Every single game we've lost, we've won the meters, we've won the post contact, and we've won the line breaks. But you know what we've lost? We've lost the penalty count and we've lost the fucking error count.
And on the scoreboard.
And on the scoreboard where it counts the most.
Yeah,
I like Jethro. He's a great finisher. G'day, Mondowan, and welcome, brother. Hardwatch didn't look up for it at all. We live to fight another day. I do think Montoya should be dropped physically and mentally. Isn't there, in my opinion? Cherry was awesome. Look, honestly, I'm not going to single him out, but I think he would, if he plays next week, he's going to need to have a strong game for us to keep his spot. That's what I believe. Because Bronson Cherry has played well the 2 games he's been back. And Ari Tuala's played well in the games he's been back. Carraz has been warming to it, but now he's got an injury. And I thought Jonathan Sewer, although only playing 38 minutes or whatever it was, 35 minutes. Showed that he can do the tough carries, and he probably got a lot he can do. Like, he scores a try, gets on the outside, runs away. He's got enough speed to get a lot of things done. We previously said the Eels would be hard to beat after a 50-point loss. We'll dust ourselves off and go again. Yeah, well, they haven't lost after a 50-point loss. Just like most teams lose after playing the Panthers. We're 0-3. This is it.
So we mentioned this one. We mentioned this one before about how last year we only lost that one day game, which was against the West Tigers. We mentioned that in a stat a few weeks ago, and then we were looking forward to playing in the day, and now we've lost 3 day games, and we've been winning the night ones. Funny enough, so great stat, Mike Cool. Yeah, it's been something that I've been definitely looking at. And I know you mentioned regular season. The only other one we lost in the day last year was obviously the final game of the year against Panthers, when we lost quite a few players there. But yeah, definitely something that's just not helping us at the moment for whatever reason. When we were so strong last year, but it's I'm sure it's something that the boys are going to be working on anyway. So they do all their training during the day, so I'm not sure what's going on there. I thought, and we spoke about this earlier, me and Michael. I felt we both felt like the referees were sort of trying to put the whistle away, kind of, so to speak. Big match. Let's let it roll, let it run. So the officiating for me, I felt there were so many instances where, based on just what's happened in the NRL in the first 7 rounds, there should have been so many more 6 agains called. I mean, it could have been both ways, but I felt like so many times our guys were being held down, and you're waiting for a call and it wasn't coming. So he kind of let a lot go. But for me, overall, it was still nothing to do with the referees today. It was our own problems that we had that didn't allow us to get the result. So and they wanted it more, guys. And when a team wants it more and they get every opportunity and they convert it to points, they're very hard to beat. So probably somewhere between 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, I'll shoot off and start heading to Brisbane on Friday, and then drive back on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. No, Timmy, Timmy's suggests he'd love to see a couple of the Queensland supporters get on the podcast. We might be able to do something where we just beam live and say hello to everyone.
Yeah.
But I'll see what happens, mate. It's hard to organise getting people on these days, and I know, Brian, it sucks.
Good job sticking around and watching the New South Wales Cup today, Timmy.
We love you too, Timmy. That's it, Brian. Nothing's easy, especially under Serrato. Nothing comes easy. But all these, this is what I was saying. I'm getting these messages and stuff, and I say to people, I'm like, the coach that picked all these players that you said were shit, that it performed at a level that you didn't think they could perform at, lose a few games, and all of a sudden the coach goes back to being shit and doing odd things and whatever else. I'm like, well, it's not odd to him, and trust is trust. You trust who you trust. You can't tell a person who they should and shouldn't trust. They've got to work it out for themselves. Yeah, Craig Bellamy shit.
That's right. Shit, is he? Okay.
Oh, Sean Bloor. He's not that good. Penrith Jr. played well at the Tigers. Melbourne get him pretty cheap. Pulled our pants down the game we should have won in 2024. Who'd he go past? Gideon Katonga. 12 minutes on the field. Couldn't raise one effort to even get a hand on his mate Sean Bloor. Gideon's told he's backing up in reserve grade the next day against Wests. He's about 15 metres out. He says, I'm going to score. Give me the ball. I'm going to score a try here. He goes and scores it. gets an opportunity with the Eels. They've given him time. He's developed. He's got an injury now. He would have been a handful today. Yeti and Katonga. But I just love memorising things. Went off on a little bit of a tangent. Same reason I reckon we win in Brisbane. That's it. Some reason I reckon we win in Brisbane. Or Control Shift EP. Is this stream for disabled AFL fans? No, it's the stream your mum comes to see me on. Fuck off. I got a reminder yesterday of what's important. A mate of 20 got diagnosed with prostate cancer. Yeah, I'd love the doggies to win every day, but it's only a game of footy and they're only human. Just want to say, shout out to your mate. I don't think there's anything we can do, but I don't know if he goes for the Bulldogs or anything, but let us know anyway, Brian. And you get him checked, guys. My mum died of ovarian cancer, so it's a silent killer, and these sort of things, they can sneak up on you. And that's 100% accurate thing. This is a footy team. It's a footy club. We don't know. Sometimes I look at it and go, why do I care so much?
It's supposed to be entertainment.
It's entertainment. And we spend half the time bloody carrying on like we're dying.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's
okay to have the first reaction, guys, as a hard one. It's okay. You know, even during the game, it's okay to just get it out of the system because that's what we follow. That's the passion. It's common, you know.
Get it out.
I was screaming today at the game and whatever, and screaming, where's the video ref when Curran's feet are taken out? What's going on? But you know what? That's it. You walk away, you reflect, you slow down, you have a breath, and then here we are. We're trying to help you guys do the same. So if you're upset,
that's it.
Looking forward, guys. Yeah, it doesn't mean that we're not
get back on track. We move forward. And we warn you about some of the other people, and I get angry at them because of the way that they can destabilise our club, because I know how fragile our constitution can be. If they want to go do an ERM and get 100 signatures and get a bunch of people on a ticket, that won't be good for our club, or they might be, but most likely won't be, who don't have the experience or whatever. It can all just fall into a massive heap. We have to be so careful. And I think social media makes that a big issue. Now, right now, that JC and another Dragons podcaster, and they're all on board doing this Save Our Saints, and they want to create a St. George Illawarra that's a merged entity and not a joint venture. And to me, it's all tokenism. They believe if they get the tokens right, so if we say we're from the one place rather than a joint from this group and that group joining together, that tokenism will mean we're going to do better on the field and make better decisions. Well, it might, but this is what I mean. Like, sometimes your club spends years in the wilderness, and sometimes it wins 11 in a row. Sometimes it wins a premiership. 4 in it. 4. Sometimes it wins 4 premierships in a decade. Sometimes it doesn't win one for 40 years or 24 years. Sometimes it doesn't make the finals for 8 years.
Don't remind me. Like when they rolled out that 86 team today at the ground, all I could think about was Andrew Farrar kicking for touch and not finding touch, and that game shifted. And I'm like, why do I still remember that? I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like, that changed the momentum of the game as well. That was a killer. That's my worst pet hate, when you get the penalty, you kick for touch and you don't find it. And to do it in a grand final.
That kick changed the momentum of the game.
Oh, Mr. Farrar, what were you thinking?
Mr. Farrar, what were you thinking? Where the Bulldogs were going to lose by 2 points to fucking Parramatta.
Just so we don't win 3 in a row like they did. 81, 82, 83, the bastards.
Everyone's excited about Jeffro. Cherry Man and Sewer were great next week in the forwards play with the Penrith Energies. Crichton comes back and Sewer and Tuala replace the injured Carraz and out of form Montoya. We win. Maybe.
Likely.
Could happen.
Next week, it's time for anything that happened Friday, guys. Just like we had anything that happened Thursday last week. For any of you who watch Big Bang Theory, anything that happened Friday.
Yeah. Again, sorry for that, Brian. Hopefully, he'll find strength in you. And
He's
others.
not 20. He's been a mate for 20 years. Yep, we got you there, mate. No worries.
Serrato needs to be held accountable. His experiments of sabotaging the potential of this team. As I said, the potential of this team would not be fucking there without Serrato. All right? Forget. It doesn't mean he does. It doesn't mean we have to agree with every decision that he makes, and it doesn't mean that he's right about everything that he does. But as a coach, he's got to back himself, and we should be backing whoever he picks. Whatever they do, we back them, we respect them, we support them, and we hope that whatever happens, it evolves into something better than what we fucking saw today. But to sit there and go, is sabotaging the potential of the team? Well, the potential of the team didn't look sabotaged last week, did it? So I know you're only last week now means nothing, and we now got to live with the fact we just lost to Parramatta until we get a chance to rectify it against the Broncos next week. But coaches have plans and they make decisions based on the things that they've got to do. So back the coacher. He's a good coach. He's a very good coach. You know? Sewer over Jeffro, you guys. Look, I think Sewer might come in, yeah. I just think if he's next man up today, he gets a go. And he's all right and he's got no injuries or anything. I think he gets a shot. In my opinion, I'm bringing both of them and Jeffro and Sewer are in that squad. I think Tuala won't play. I think Tuala will be out for another week. Just my thought, my opinion, my assumption, I should say.
What happens sometimes, guys, is when you've got a youngster like that, when you've got someone coming into the team like that, what tends to happen is if you've got a good team around them, their level elevates as well because they're getting better service, they're getting better opportunities sometimes. Yes, it's harder, but sometimes, I mean, you see it in, in different sports. When you sometimes get to that higher level, you've got better players around you executing things, hopefully. You do have the opportunity to shine. So it's not always, I know they're playing at different levels, but until you get to that position, guys, you're never going to know how you're going to perform consistently. So some people will have, better performances, rise to the occasion and look much better in the first grade sometimes than in other grades or whatever they've done. So everybody needs a break, guys. Brisbane just blooded a new guy and they had another guy on the bench that, was unfortunately not blooded because they had to put Hayes Perham on. He had 19 people travel from Brisbane to watch him in Campbelltown. And so next week he might get an opportunity with all these players out. So
Hayes Perham?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Hayes wasn't supposed to play, but this other guy that was supposed to debut, he flew. 19 people went from Brisbane to Campbelltown to watch him, and then because they lost Arthur's, Hayes had to come on. So, but they were ready to roll these guys out. Whoever you are, they're the grand finalists last year, and they're still rolling out new, fresh players. We can be the same guys. The way I look at it is this, guys. Serraldo, when he wasn't happy with Cherry for whatever reasons he wasn't happy with, dropped him. And Ari was playing better, he felt. He dropped him. He made the call. Serraldo just needs to look at it more and say, okay, do I need to do this again? That's what I'm looking for, guys. If he feels that it's right, back yourself. Because since he did that with Tuala, he's been on fire, guys. No one can say that. Look, when Cherry came back last week, what was everyone saying? Oh, maybe we put Tuala here or we do. But no one was talking about taking Tuala out because Cherry was playing well. Because his position is now performing well and justified. So that's a Serelda decision, guys. We need to back
We've got to
that.
stop. We need to talk. Sorry, guys. Showy, you won the comp last week. You need to contact us.
Yeah, Showy, congratulations.
You won the $40 or 30, depending where you are. You need to contact us on Facebook, Instagram, or X, or wherever you are. Send us your name and stuff.
You say Showy was in Brisbane?
I think he's in Brisbane.
Showy, if you're in Brisbane, get yourself ordered soon, mate. I can probably bring something up to you, mate. Give you an extra $10 of spending money at the store. If you're coming to the game, we'll get it to you. If not, I'll leave it with Michael. When he's doing his rounds, mate, he'll hit you.
Sorry, I'm not too concerned about the points. Points are getting leaked massively by most sides, as you're seeing. And the fact that it come down to an individual error and then
chasing
a
points.
guy that hasn't played much footy, pulling our pants down through the middle. It's basically 12 points, and the other 24 points they got were off fucking kicks. In a side where we lost Carraz and we lost Tuala to start the game. So, yeah, it's just a shit show. It was just a shit showy. Next day games against the Tigers, and also week after that. Getting a bit tired, guys, so we're going to end this shortly. I wasn't going to ask you for money today.
Showy's in Sydney, mate. There you go.
Oh, he is? Yep, you won the voucher, buddy, so we'll be able to
hang around long enough last week, mate. You should have stayed for the whole 3 hours. What are you doing, man?
So I can order something from the team store, and then if you give me details, you can pick it up from the team store, or I can have gas.
I can always bring it to you if you're not.
You can bring it to you. Yeah, we don't have to pay delivery if it's we can do that. So that way you can get a $40 voucher instead of $30 one. Yeah, we said that earlier, Mir. It was a massive momentum killer when he dropped the ball in.
Straight after points, guys. You got to complete your set.
Oh, I don't think they really exposed our right edge that badly. I think they got they got a try twice there. We exposed their right edge a lot more. As I said, 4 tries off the kickoff. And people are like, oh, well, a hooker outran a Montoya. I don't care what position they play. He outran everyone. There was about 4 players there that he outran, from what I could see. It'd be nice to have someone that, it'd be nice to have the Fox who can rein that one in, but we don't have him because he tested positive for fucking cocaine. That was huge for our club.
It cost us winning the grand final in 2024.
That's it.
We would have kept our run going every 10 years, on again, off again, guys. It was all bloody Addo Carr's fault.
I was at the game. That was embarrassing. I don't know why Curran played centre. And honestly, I'm actually done with Montoya. I backed him till now, but he's been off and needs a stint cup. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the coach, mate, and whether he gives him another crack. Nick, I know of an excellent Bulldogs guy up in Queensland who's ex-footy player himself, an extremely high IQ. He'd be awesome to have on your potty, bro. His name's Brody, top bloke. Send me his stuff, mate, or tell him to reach out on Facebook or whatever, mate. We'll have a chat. Is this bloke explaining a crypto? Who? Did you all see how Carraz hurt his leg? Yeah, mate. Looks like an MCL or something to me. Ash Thomas's best mate. Welcome, Gecko Fox. Yeah, look, it's just the thing is, if you've got a long memory, you'll know that these results have been happening. Surprises happen every week in rugby league, and today shouldn't have been a surprise based on that. Yeah, nothing's easy for our Bulldogs at the moment. Hopefully, one day it'll be a lot easier. But I watch that Penrith side. They work hard, real hard every game, every week, and they win most games because of it. And that's what we're trying to build.
Yep.
And as much as those guys have got to believe that they can win comps and all this sort of shit, some of them are warming seats for some more talented, hopefully hard working or harder working players to come in at some point. When I just compare our players on paper to a couple of other teams, they're going to, if they can overcome some of these other teams, I might be a little bit surprised. I just think there's teams, if we play them 100 times, we lose more than we win at the moment. And that's not saying I don't have faith. I have hope and faith every week. I'm just trying to balance expectations. That's all. That our club, if you've watched even in those wins we had last year, they're all hard earned. Even the 30-0 wins and the 20-0 wins, they came through fucking hard work. And
even the Manly game.
The Manly game, our best attacking performance. We had to execute so many good plays, fraction of a second, passes that were just crisp and clean from player to player to player to player. 5 movements that just went bang, 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 bang. I watch some other teams and they just throw one ball to a player in space and do it 4 times in a match. And it just happens a lot easier for some teams. And that comes through cohesion and talent and a lot of stuff. But some teams rely on talent, other teams rely on hard work, and then you got teams which are just nail both ends of it. And for us, it's the hard work. We're building that talent. We're getting more confidence in the talent coming through. But there needs to be a point where some of that talent gets the go-ahead to take its place in the team. And I think that generally starts to happen after round 10. Like the first 10 rounds, they pretty much stick to a set number of players, guys, and they have a next man up sort of worked out. I think the Cherry thing was a bit of an anomaly this year, but everything else seems to always flow along with a next man up mentality. And obviously they just had Curran ahead of Sua. And it probably didn't work. Well, obviously it didn't. So, yeah, I know, Shoei. I think there's a lot of differences, Sayed. So, different preparation this year, much different. We've talked about it.
We're the hunted. We're the hunted as well now.
I don't think they're not buying in. I think they're buying in. I just think that it's just harder. And I always
thought together. When we do put it together, you get the results that we had last week. It's still there, guys. It doesn't go away. It's just need to be more consistent at it. That's all.
Today was our worst performance, though.
Yes.
Of the year.
Yeah.
By far.
Yeah. Where Cireldo said previously we've only had 2 bad halves of footy, now he can say 4.
Yeah, but Sayed, Montoya had... Look, I'm not defending Montoya. He's in the team for a very good reason with the way we play. He needs to improve on today's performance and probably last elements of last week. And there was a few things a week before, right? But calling for mass changes this early in the season just isn't really warranted. At 3-3, the most disappointing thing about losing today was that we lost to the fucking Parramatta Eels. That's disappointing enough, but to actually lose the way we lost makes it worse. So I validate all your frustration and anger. I validate your points. but the coach will do what the coach has got to do, and it's up to him to get the best out of Montoya, and that's every other player on the team too. He's got to get a better work rate out of that middle. As I said, they left Bailey Hayward isolated too often. When they had some momentum, he was the only player there sometimes. We're a little bit late to the party with our cohesion and connection in the middle, in my opinion. They still won a lot of the stats on the ground. They just didn't open the game up the way they needed to for both sides of the field. And I think that's because there was a little bit of a mentality that they were just going to grind that game out. And Parramatta had other ideas. And as Gas and I both pointed out, they fucking executed every opportunity that they got. It was like watching the Bulldogs versus the Roosters in 2022.
You want to go through some stats, mate?
Oh, fuck, I can't even be bothered, but I will.
Okay.
Team stats. We ended up with 14 more seconds with the ball, completed 30 from 40. They had 37 from 45. We had 6 more runs, but made an extra 60 metres, so that's about equal per run. Post-contact, 6 more runs with so pretty much equal there. We had 5 line breaks to 3. We had a few more tackle breaks, more set distance. Obviously, they had the longer kicking metres, giving us more kick return. Play the ball speed, I felt they laid all over us, but we didn't fight as hard as we did last week. Offloads, we sort of did most of those during the catch-up phase, not enough early to show intent. And I felt the Eels offloads were a lot more
efficient.
Hurt us. More efficient. Receipts, more passes, more dummies, similar kicks. Galvin again doing all the kicking. Bombs 6-5, Grubbers 2-3, but we didn't defuse their bombs, and that's where we lost the game in the end. We made about 26 less tackles. We missed 4 less, so it's about similar efficiency. We were just a tiny bit better. Ineffective less than them. Their line speed was causing them to miss a few, though. 13 errors is what's killed us today. They started to make some as they were getting tired in that second half.
6 penalties to 1 as well.
6 penalties to 1 killed us. But again, I just think it was refereed differently today too. So Josh Adokar, Ronald Volkman, Joash Papali, Dylan Walker, Talon De Silva, and Will Penasini. When we get Carraz, Galvin, Sewer, and Bronson Cherry, quickly go through players' stats, but not much to show there.
Tracy, once again, the most with the running meters, guys. Back over 200 as usual.
And that's because we're restricting their meterage pretty well. Not as good as we had been, though. And Moses was kicking deep, and Tracy was getting good return meters. That's plus having to run it on the 4th. A lot. 53 tackles for Bailey Hayward. So let's look at the stats for the Bulldogs. Someone started showing stats of Curran and that Carraz did more than what Curran did. And I'm just like, fucking not relative. Tracy, 24 runs the way the game was played. We had Cherry with 15 runs, 140 metres. Montoya, 16 for 112. Post-contact similar. Line breaks to Carraz, Cherry, Galvin, Preston, and Sewer. line break assists. We had 2 for Cherry, and we had 2 for Matty Burton, and 1 for Leo Thompson. Try assist 2 for Cherry, 2 for Burton. Tackle breaks. Montoya had 7 tackle breaks. Birdo 5. First time Birdo's ran more than Lockie Galvin. I want to look at tackles. So offloads, kick out 5 offloads. We need him to be running.
A few of those offloads were pretty crap, though. Just basically rolled out along the ground, and they weren't proper offloads like, usual when they pop out to the player's chest and off they go. They were more out of desperation when he was getting flung around after being tackled.
Yeah. Desperation to make something happen as well.
But some of those were like still 7 minutes into the second half, guy, when the score was still the same. It's too early to start playing that kind of football. It just leads you into a false sense of security. We were only, in the game at halftime. Get into the grind and work your way into it. You know what I mean? Didn't need to be throwing those silly passes like that.
Bailey Hayward, 53 tackles, 2 missed tackles. Big Roo calls me Mad Mick. He called him Slowwood, so I told him he went into timeout. Harry Hayes, 30 tackles, 2 missed. Kick out, 36 tackles. Preston, 25. 30 for Harry. Satilli, 25 tackles, 5 misses. Josh, 11 tackles, 2 misses. So there you go. Bronson Cherry, 60 fantasy points.
I think that's the most tackles as Preston's missed all year. The 3 missed tackles. He's only missed 1 in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and look, he bears a hard workload, and we saw this with Preston last year. He starts well, and then he's got to get into the grind, and his body goes to places, to hard, tough places, and he needs to maintain that level. And he normally finishes really strong. Sort of being the way, and this is where they start to burn. And some people ascend, some people have just got to hold their form, and others are, falling away.
He's making that hit and spin work for him. That's 2 weeks in a row. He's done the hit and spin and gone to the line break.
Oh, he's a sensational player.
Just a little bit of work on his in-ground kicking, but that was a great break again with that hit and spin again. So, and the thing is, if Parramatta watched the highlights all week, they knew it was coming. They still couldn't defend it. But he's that agile. He went from spin to basically full speed straight away. So, the only disappointing thing was there was no one in support. He didn't have to didn't have to put the kick in. Should have been people running off his side there. Thanks, Brian.
Good stuff, Brian. Yeah, we can make the 4. You probably make it with 5 or 6 losses, but
it's still a very open comp, guys. Very open comp.
I think we'll coach by the Dragons this week. G'day, James. Look forward to seeing you on Friday, mate. Look, I think, as I said, the Dragon stuff's a bit overrated. They think tokenism's going to get them back. It's just everyone starts shouting to hang the witch, and you hang the witch, and then they go and find another witch to hang. Like, you'll never stop hanging the witch. There's always a witch. Getting a bit deep there. But, I agree in a way. Look, Curran to centre. Sounds stupid. Might look stupid. As we said in this thing, mate. You trust who you trust, brother. You trust who you trust. Same thing happened last year. Power under man last year, and we just got home. We cannot lift mentally for this team. We lifted for him though, like in the King's birthday, luckily. But yeah, you're right. Last year we didn't play that well round 3.
This stadium is a hoodoo for us, guys. We keep losing at Combank. Sick and tired of leaving that ground without a win under our belt. Pissing me off.
Sua's a centre, mate. If you ask us, he's a centre. He sees him as a centre, and he plays good at centre.
Willie Tonga, mate.
But-
Willie Tonga.
We've probably got to look at him as a winger, though, coming through the grade, you know what I mean? They brought in a new guy today, as I said, in New South Wales Cup on the wing, who did a good job, got 2 tries. Looks a goer. I'll do some highlights on that.
Sign him up.
We've got Critter, we've got Bert, just to make it people upset. He's a centre. Amazing how this ref put his whistle in his 6 to go away in our game. The inconsistency. Yeah, well, he got dropped for, what did he blow? Bloody 47 of them 2 weeks ago. I just feel Tracy can't finish off that last hook to get over the try line. He isn't very strong through the hips. Yeah, well, that's what he lacks compared to Tedesco and your KO Weekses and your Dylan Edwards. They have that hip. Reece Walsh, they have that hip movement. Reece Walsh has also got that extra speed. It's a hard thing to manage, actually. That's what I love about Jake Averillo. He's managed ability to change direction without losing speed. Is phenomenal.
Looks a bit robotic when he runs, Averillo.
Heinzie 98. I'm going to tell you something. Players need to be flexible in this game, in this day and age. If you just go out there and buy specialist players, you can't win comps. You can't. And you'll find most players coming through grades were played in way different positions to where they end up in first grade. The whole majority of them. There's no, the natural this, the natural that is a fallacy most of the time. There are a few, but they are few and far between, brother. Fact. It's just the way it is. You can have 7 great halfbacks and you need them all in your team. Sometimes you end up with them all in your team. One is the hooker, one is your small lock, one is a 5'8", one is a halfback, one of them at fullback. Other one ends up playing on the wing. It happens all the time. Some of them are big enough to actually end up playing as back rowers and stuff, locks. So, not sure if it's an ACL. We'll find. Probably an MCL. Yeah, it is an MCL. There you go. We need to get well, Logan Spinks had another strong game. But I think what the coach will do is he'll put Curran onto an edge. And he will be the back rower but hopefully that opens up a pathway for Spinks to come on the bench or whatever. But we'll see what happens. There's going to be more injuries. There's going to be more stuff that goes wrong. There'll be more bad performances. There'll be more disappointments. Just like we're also going to see lots of good stuff happen as well, where we think we've worked it all out and we can bottle that and just drink that magic potion every week and it'll be the win every week. No, if you could bottle it, you'd be an absolute billionaire. It's not our Bulldogs, mate. We don't do it the easy way. Never have, never will. Yeah, Buller did good, but he also had some moments as well. He also looked like he got a bit of an injury. But he's very creamy. He's very creamy. He's young Jareem Buller.
That's Buller ice cream, mate. That's all he was doing.
Heinzie said Jed Reardon, did he? Well, Jed Reardon's not a centre. He's playing centre.
He's a second row.
He's a second rower, Timmy. But he's playing all right at centre. He's doing his best.
Feeling
But it is a
flexibility.
call.
Flexibility.
It is a call, though. It's actually, look, I'm going back a little bit, but I said that I do worry about our depth in the centres when it comes to having the youngsters coming through. But we've got Eamon Fitzgibbon coming through. I think there's quite a few that could play there if they have to, that are good footballers. Eamon can play centre. He can play 5'8". He's in Jersey Flegg at the moment. He looks like someone who just carries a lot with him. You know, he's got this ability just to keep going and competing. Long way off. Tracy might like that, but thank God he also lacks the salary cost of those other players, which means it can be spent on a Burton or a Preston or a Critter. There you go, Brian. Sticking strong as always.
Love you, Brian.
Yeah, Curran's played a lot of centre, mate. This is what I said about our side. Like, we've built a side from players with 80-minute mentalities that have played on an edge, playing centre, playing back row, coming
I don't think
through
he
the
started at
grades.
centre, though. He filled in at centre at Warriors. I don't think he started any games at centre, though.
Yeah,
I think he filled in at centre, yeah.
And look, most edge back rowers haven't. I think he played centre coming through when he was younger.
He's got that speed. You can see he's got the speed, yeah.
Corey Oates played back row coming through, then started on the wing. There you go. G'day, young star. When Gus brought up the apple pie on a Sunday, I got flashbacks to a movie from my younger years. I know. American Pie.
Did you miss a Muse one, mate?
Huh? I have a question. What are we generally lacking for our attack?
I think one thing for me at the moment, speed. Genuine speed. I think we're also like it. Look, we were a different team when we had the Fox. It was a different setup. I think for that, sometimes we just need. You look at all the good teams now. Even like Titans last week against Parramatta, they've got genuine speed. When they make breaks, they're away. They're gone. A lot of these teams, like look at Manly, when they're on, look, they won 3 games. They've got genuine speed all across their back line. So you make a break from anywhere on the field, you got to score. For us at the moment, we need to be somewhere in their half to do something. You know what I mean? Very rarely are we scoring anything longer than that. We're not creating those opportunities at the moment, you know, and we're not having that genuine speed to create that or to even just make someone double think something. So we have to work twice as hard to make use of what we've got at our disposal, similar to what we had to do last week. We have to play a great game plan and execute it well to get the result. But yeah, it is, and it also hurts us when we have to cover for line breaks, guys, because like you can see it just as an example today. We had times when players got away and we just couldn't reel them in. So yeah, but anyway, you're talking about attack, I understand, but yeah, genuine speed for me. It's handy, mate. It's handy. You know, that's why guys like Jethro, whatever, it's going to be helpful, mate, having some faster guys out there, man. Come on.
The problem is a lot of them don't have the defense. So finding the genuine speed that can from within your club, you know, we can't just go buy them all. We've got to develop them. And sometimes I think I don't disagree. Like it was nice having that. You know, having the Fox with Cherry.
He wasn't the best
Burton
defender either. He wasn't the best defender, Fox, but he did enough.
I think his ability. Well, I think he's an underrated defender, to be honest.
He reads it well.
He reads it. Same with Galvin. They read it and they get there. Because they've got the speed to get there and they read the game well. Fox had a lot of great attributes that were under us. I've never seen him throw a pass that didn't hit someone on the chest. When he makes a break, he always nails the pass. Like, never saw him throw it forward. I could be wrong, but that's my memory on it. I love the Fox. I think the Fox is one of the greatest things that happened to getting us off the bottom. I think it was part of the whole strategy and it worked well. And it's sad that he's gone. But what are you supposed to do? You've got cocaine in your blood. That's it.
Yeah, we need to keep developing the young blokes. Tay Cochran's, whoever it is, we need to keep developing these guys. That's it.
And we are. We are developing them.
So,
Got Sheldon Hayward developing, another big, strong Fijian. Well, he's not a Fijian, I don't think. He might be. I can't remember. He's a big boy, wears a headband, and he goes good.
Patrick Young
Well,
coming in, running from dummy half, changing the attack.
Patrick Young gives me the Harry Grants. I think from an attack point of view, but defensively, that's where they've got to make the bread and butter, right?
He's got to grow up still. Still Jersey Flegg.
Look, I also think people take what Serrato says as excuses or reasons way to heart. Like, it's a press conference. They say what they got to say. Sometimes it's bullshit. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes that's all we're going to get. Could be he goes in there and it might have been something happened where they just go, we're starting Curran, that's it, because of some other reason. Like, we don't know. Does that mean sometimes they just make the wrong call? We move on to next week. Hopefully, if it was the wrong call and they acknowledge that amongst themselves when they do a reflection, what we see as obvious is not obvious, is what I'm trying to say. It might be, though, but it may not be either. So you just got to just get on to next week. We're going to go there and watch it, and hopefully haven't had too many good days in Queensland. I think we've had 3 wins in Queensland since 2019.
I wouldn't look at before 2024. I don't look at everyone. All the stats are against us in those 8 years. Everyone talks about, yeah, you're right. But for me, I discount those 8 years when it comes to all the statistics about who and what we've beaten, and what we've done, etc. So, yeah,
we've had 2 wins then since 2024.
Yeah,
one against the Broncos and one against the Titans at Magic Round last year.
Yeah,
every other game's been a loss.
That's it.
Lost to Canberra, lost to fucking Brisbane, lost to Gold Coast. That's it, Brian.
Stags?
Yeah, I said Stags got an injured ligament in his foot, but not sure if he'll play or not. Bloody cane toads. That's it, Jazz. They're literally so stupid up here. They think that they actually are nicer people, have bigger hearts, that they're more courageous. And they think having 2 heads is fucking normal. Should see my kids.
Based on Carraz's injury, it could potentially rule him out of Origin, which means that if Carraz does come back during Origin, it means he may be starting for the Bulldogs, probably not for New South Wales, based on what's happened to him.
James, DS7, Montoya, Curran are imposters.
It's all right, mate. Simbin, mate, Simbin.
Delete comment. They wear the fucking blue and white. She'll be all right. Okay?
That's it.
All right, people.
That's enough, guys.
We've had enough. I'm going to bed. It's out of our system. We move on to next week. Stick strong, boys. Don't be the dickheads who just have to outrage at everyone to get through the day, because they all act like we're the biggest team that will beat every single one when we have a good win. And then when we lose, they act like the whole world's fucking falling in. And the coach they said was the best last week is now the dickhead this week. Like, no trust.
I reckon Jackson Ford could be replacing Haas, I reckon, if he's not playing.
For New South Wales?
Isn't he a New South Welshman?
Fucking hope not.
Anyway,
Oh, you saying that to Jazz?
yeah, I'm just giving him the response back. What I think they might, what Laurie might do. He's the form front rower playing big minutes.
Look, he's a good player, Jackson, but he's another one who was a second rower.
Yeah,
If he's got to start in the middle every week, you're going to break. Although they'll be toughening him up over there with the big boys.
mm-hmm. Although
Anyway,
there could be a difference, could be a few difference this year because a few of them now with the new rules, some of them might have exemptions and might be playing as well. So could be a few things that everyone's talking about. Alex Twile as well for Origin. Anyway, there's a lot of things that could change, but
no way. Sorry, Alex. I think, yeah, we'll have a look at that when it comes up anyway. We'll do an Origin special.
too early, guys. Yeah, Moses Leota's looking also to play for the Blues. He'd be a handy acquisition.
Keep the faith, trust the process. Moses Leota looking forward to playing for New South Wales. We'll just put the Penrith side in right now. They can all play. Oh, okay. AFB, yeah. There's no way I'd have Adam Fanua Blake in my Origin side either. Don't tell him I said that. He's a mercenary. Not interested.
All right, mate. All good, everyone. We'll be back in a couple of days, whether it's Tuesday or Wednesday. TBC. Watch this space.
And Brian, on that note, I 100% agree with you, mate. We get blamed for fucking everything. Thanks, everyone. Hope you're feeling all right.
Thanks, guys.
We're going to stick by this club and this team no matter what, guys. So, win, lose, or draw, feel the Bulldogs raw. That doesn't make sense, does it?
That's it. On fire.
Woof, woof. Woof, woof. All right. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you Tuesday or Wednesday.
See you guys. Up the doggies.
That's it.
Let's go.
Go the Dogs.
See you later.